All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AmpleScramble. I just want to go over the Boston Celtics. I saw a story about the Boston Celtics posted by ESPN, I believe, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with the Boston Celtics and things like that. But just to give you my perspective on what's wrong with the Boston Celtics is those of you that are Boston Celtic fans or Boston, fans of those New England teams, to say the least, you know that Boston teams usually have an edgy player on their roster. They usually have an intimidating force, a person that is outspoken on those rosters when they win championships. The Boston Bruins, got the New England Patriots, Boston Red Sox, and the Boston Celtics. You gotta have someone that has a chip on their shoulder. And to me, the Boston Celtics, this new Boston Celtics roster is a little too, I'm not gonna say timid, I'm gonna say they're too, quote unquote, choir boyish to me. I don't know if that has anything to do with the coaching style of Brad Stevens. I'm not going to rain on Brad Stevens because I like the gentleman a lot. He gets a lot of respect from me. I'm just looking at the fact that the Boston Celtics need to pursue a player that has an edge or a chip on their shoulder, someone that's loud. The last time they had a player like that and actually won a championship was the years with Kevin Garnett. To me, Kevin Garnett was the most important part of that championship roster for the Boston Celtics. And also you had Big Baby Davis. You just happen to have a lot of players that had emotion. And I'm not saying that the Boston Celtics current roster doesn't boast players that have emotion, but it's not that same intensity that you saw in the days of Kevin Garnett. I mean, I know it's hard to reach or find someone that is that intense as far as players are concerned, but I believe they need to pursue some type of player that plays edgy, a loud player. And being a Detroit Pistons fan, growing up watching our struggles with the Boston Celtics, we always got our what's handed to us by the Boston Celtics until we were able to put together a roster with, and you know where I'm going with this, you had put a Dennis Rodman on that Detroit Pistons roster, and we pretty much didn't have too many issues outside of that one playoff loss that year. We pretty much didn't have any issues with anyone. And then another player that the Detroit Pistons had on their roster that was very intense was Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace. Those were the years the Pistons were just running away with the Eastern Conference. And you want to go back even further, you look at the days when they had a Bill Russell, when they had a Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Larry Bird. You had a bunch of guys that had chips on their shoulder and they played with intensity. And I'm not witnessing that with this current Boston Celtics roster. Not taking anything away from them talent-wise. You just need to have a player that has the chippiness to take the Boston Celtics somewhere. They've made some roster moves over the past few years. I will have to say the last player that they had that recently that portrayed that kind of attitude was Isaiah Thomas. And if you ask me, they botched that whole situation with Isaiah Thomas. And they haven't been the same since then. I don't see them winning a championship anytime soon unless they acquire a player of that magnitude with that kind of attitude and chippiness, and that they've got beef against the world mentality, I don't think they're going to win a championship. You look at the last few teams recently that's been NBA champions, and you always had a player on those rosters as well. I know we're keeping it on the Boston Celtics, but you look at the Golden State Warriors. You had a Draymond Green. Look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Outside of LeBron James, he always plays and goes 100% for the most part. But you also have Matthew Dellavedova on that roster as well. You gotta have someone of that caliber. The Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green. You gotta have someone like that if you want to win a championship. If not, especially in Boston's situation, then you maybe make it to the later rounds of the playoffs, but that's going to be about it. So my advice to the Boston Celtics would be go out there, find you a player, not a troublesome player, but someone who has an edge, someone who has a chip on their shoulder. Pursue one through free agency or through a trade. I'm going to throw out some names that come to me. And bear with me because I'm just doing this pretty much on the fly. But there's a few players in the league that I think would make a difference with the Boston Celtics. Daniel Tice, I love Daniel Tice, but I think he should be a Detroit Piston. That's just my opinion. He should be a Detroit Piston. He has a toughness to him. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if he's injured or anything. But Daniel Tice is something that's missing. So, I guess I have to do my research and maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section if he's injured or something like that. Also, players I pursued DeMarcus Cousins. I think you put someone like him on that roster, that's going to change the outcome of the next couple of seasons. Steven Adams, another one. You want to put him on that roster if you could possibly attain him. Andre Drummond, he's not that player that has an edge, a chip on his shoulder to me, but maybe after being bounced around a couple of times from team to team, maybe he'll take a different approach and have a different attitude if they were to sign him and put him on the Boston Celtics. So he will be able to prove a lot of people wrong. I'm not going to throw his name out there. I was about to say someone, but I won't put his name out there. Another player that I think will bring that edge to the Boston Celtics, and I don't know how this will happen or if it could happen, will be Russell Westbrook. Someone along that line. But yeah, I'm not going to keep you all long on here. I appreciate you for checking this out. Just like I said, ran across this story on ESPN about the Boston Celtics, and they're saying what's wrong with them with their record, being below 500 and things like that. A lot of people say that the regular season doesn't start until, that the real season doesn't start until the playoffs come around or the second half of the season. So we'll see if they can turn things around within that time period. But like I said, in my opinion, they're missing that chippiness and toughness that they used to have with the players such as Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, Kevin Garnett, Isaiah Thomas, Bill Russell, just to name a few. So let me know what you think in the comment section about that with the Boston Celtics. Being a Detroit Pistons fan, I'm never have been a Boston Celtic fan, but Jason Tatum is one of my favorite players, so I kind of cheer him on a little bit. But yeah, so hope you all are doing fine. Let me know in the comment section as far as players you think that could bring that edge back to the Boston Celtics. So I'm out of here.